I want to talk about path blocking units in co-op. Now, if you do have a little bit of ladder experience or you have been watching some of the professional tournaments, you might be aware of the idea of body blocking, where some player would use mules or some other unit to body block their opponent and get the upper hand in a battle. And this thing kind of works in a similar way, but allows you to get some very interesting results. Right off the bat, I want to say that this does not work for attack waves. If you try and path block an attack wave, the attack wave will just completely wreck anything in its way, and you might end up as a feature on rock slapping champions. So any aim-on unit, it cannot be path blocked. Aim-on units include units that are spawned from attack waves, but they also include some units that are spawned from mutators. For example, resurrected units from Void Reanimators are considered aim-on units. Units that are spawned from Void Rifts are also considered aim-on units, and units spawned from the aggressive deployment drops are also considered aim-on units, so therefore this path blocking technique will not work. However, you can path block special mutator units. Now in this example, you'll see that we have Void Reanimators active, which means that when we kill the Zergling, a Void Reanimator will spawn from this northern pylon here and will make its way towards the Zergling to try and resurrect it. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to drop a Marine over here, and this unfortunate Zergling, I'm sorry Mr. Carbot, is going to get killed by that one Marine, and we're going to see what happens.
Just encountered some enemy Zerg.
So, we kill off the Zergling, and now the Void Reanimator will spawn in just a little bit. And when this Void Reanimator spawns, there we go, there is this guy who is the bane of everybody's existence. He's going to make its way to try and resurrect this Zergling. You can see that just a couple of engineering bays and just 2 SCVs, and that is basically enough to path block this Void Reanimator, and he cannot actually get to the Zergling, and his path will not change at any point in time. The other thing to also note is because it no longer it doesn't actually have an attack, it cannot do anything about these SCVs, so it cannot even get them, it cannot kill them off, so it is going to stay like this pretty much for the rest of the game. Now, as a matter of fact, you can actually path block a Propagator. And if you have ever played up against Propagators, you will know how scary and how absolutely terrifying they are. They can make you lose a game within seconds. But you can actually path block these units. Now, full disclosure, this is really hard to do and it is very finicky. I spent quite a long time to try and find out one potential layout for these engineering bays that'll end up making a Propagator get basically path blocked and not end up aggroing one of these SCVs and killing them off and basically losing the game. But let me show you this in action and then I'll explain why it works and how that works. So we are going to create a Propagator here. The only difference is that we have a set of Marines on the front line. And you'll see that this Propagator is trying to kill these Marines, but it gets path blocked by these SCVs. Now why this works is because these SCVs have a much lower aggro rating than these Marines. As a result, when the Propagator comes up here, it sees one of these Marines and says, oh, I want to eat you. And as it moves towards this Marine, this other Marine starts attacking the Propagator. I'm going to spawn another one so you can actually watch this in action. And what basically happens is that the Propagator ends up retargeting one Marine to the other. You can see it's targeting this one, now it's targeting that. So just back and forth, it's just keeping on retargeting these two Marines, never really sticking with one target. And as a result, what happens is that the game doesn't really think that the Propagator is being body blocked. It just thinks, okay, it's moving towards one of the targets. And as long as the game thinks that the Propagator is moving towards a target, the Propagator will not stop moving and then try and retarget something that is nearby. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is really finicky. So this layout works. I'm going to show you this one more time. So we're going to spawn another Propagator, and I just want to show you that this layout actually works and is fine. So you can see that the Propagator will try and retarget these Marines. These SCVs are on hold position as well, and make sure you do not move an SCV in the middle of this little engagement that's happening right now, because as soon as you move an SCV, this Propagator will continue to push that SCV forward and you will end up losing this area. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how finicky this is by moving my SCV just a little bit more like this. Now, if I spawn the Propagator, Propagator is going to make his way here. And remember that this SCV has moved just a little bit. You'll see that this Propagator is going to stop moving, and then it's going to start attacking that. So this is how finicky this whole thing is. Just a few more tips for those of you that want to attempt this. Make sure that your Marines are not standing like basically right here. The Propagator actually has an attack range. It has, I think, a range of 1. So the Propagator can easily reach over the SCV and snipe this Marine if you are not paying attention. So make sure you're moving them a little bit behind so that they do not end up getting caught out by the Propagator. The other thing is, if you're playing up against a mutator like Speed Freaks, and if you have a Propagator spawning, what can sometimes happen is that the Propagator, I don't want to use the word clip, because it doesn't really clip through, but because it moves so fast, sometimes it can end up like just sneaking through the two SCVs and aggroing your Marines. So make sure you have a slightly tighter wall. So I'm going to do another prop spawn here, so you can see a Propagator with Speed Freaks and see how terrifying that is. You can see this Propagator is going to be moving here, and now it's just going to ping pong between these two Marines, and as long as that Propagator does not stop moving, as long as you see it moving back and forth, you are safe, because the game thinks it's aggroing some other target and is moving towards that target because it's moving the few pixels across, and therefore the Propagator will not stop to attack anything that is nearby. So I hope this video gave you a bit of insight to some of the intricacies of StarCraft and some of the interesting things that you can do in co-op, and hopefully it provided you with one more way of dealing with difficult mutators.